For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. We begin here in Venezuela, where representatives from 28 countries are holding the second ministerial conference of states affected by transnational interest and foreign investment. Our correspondent Rachel Boothroyd has more.
Thanks, Cody. We're reporting from Caracas in Venezuela, where the second conference of states affected by the interests of transnational corporations was held today. The conference actually began as a Latin American initiative last year, but has now expanded to include 32 different governments from across the global south, including countries from Latin America, the Caribbean, Asia and Africa. Representatives from these governments met in Caracas today to discuss the ways in which the global south can counterbalance what they say is the dominance and growing power of transnational corporations. We've been informed that the principal initiative to emerge from today's conference is the signing of an agreement with the intergovernmental research organisation known as the South Centre, which over the coming year will be conducting an evaluation of the role of transnational corporations and their behaviour in the economies of the 32 different countries which participated in today's conference. This is with a view to eventually setting up an observatory of the South, which will ultimately act as a monitoring body to regulate the actions of transnational corporations. This is what we have been informed will be happening over the coming year and is the principal initiative to have emerged from today's conference and this historic move by the Global South to regulate transnational capital. My name's Rachel Boothroyd, reporting from Caracas, Venezuela for Telesur.
And thanks to Rachel. This Wednesday night, U.S. President Barack Obama addresses the nation to outline details of increased military action across Iraq and Syria, targeting the rise of the Islamic State extremists. According to a copy of his speech, Obama will announce that the U.S. will lead a broad coalition to wage a relentless campaign to annihilate Islamic State militants in Iraq and Syria. He reiterated that the military intervention will not involve American combat troops on the ground, but only air power and support for partner forces already stationed in the area. Obama is also seeking congressional support for his plan to train Syrian rebels.
Because of our strikes.
Brazilian presidential candidate Marina Silva criticized the size of the government today in Brazil, saying the existence of 39 ministries was excessive and calling for their reduction. Current President Dilma Rousseff quickly came to the defense of the government ministries. Rousseff and her ruling Workers' Party maintain that the existence of these ministries plays an important role in ensuring the provision of social services. She also says cutting ministries would result in major unemployment. According to the Brazilian Institute for Geography and Statistics, the country currently has more than 10 million public sector jobs, which represents 12% of the actively employed population. A second group of victims from Colombia's armed conflicts gave its testimony at peace talks in Cuba Tuesday, where President Juan Manuel Santos' government and the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia continue their discussions. Moderators of the closed-door session included representatives of the UN in Colombia, the National University, and the Episcopal Conference. Victims handed over an Advent wreath with candles to the two parties during the talks. Russian President Vladimir Putin has personally taken command of Russia's defense industries. He is calling for new weapons to counter recent military moves by the U.S. and NATO in Eastern Europe.
The crisis in Ukraine, which was in fact engineered and developed by some of our Western partners, is now used for the resuscitation of the military bloc. But all this, of course, should be and will be taken into account in our decision-making about the safety of our country. There are other things that concern us very much: continuing military conquest of space, and the question of use of non-nuclear strategic weapons performance, and so on and so on. A lot of the threats appear. And recently, as you know, the decision to build up NATO in Eastern Europe.
Israel has opened its own investigation into its violent offensive against Gaza to determine any wrongdoing by its forces. The Israeli military will investigate itself through 5 criminal investigations, 2 of them high-profile cases involving Gazan civilian casualties. The investigation will also probe the killing of Palestinian children on a Gaza beach and the shelling of a United Nations school. According to Palestinian and UN estimates, more than 2,100 Gazans, mostly civilians, were killed during the disproportionate Israeli summer offensive. And following Israeli destruction in Gaza, hundreds of Palestinian youth have decided to risk their lives in a dangerous trek toward Europe. As our correspondent Noor Harazin reports, many hope to find a better life and escape future Israeli violence and destruction.
As the Gaza Strip is facing severe humanitarian crisis, the unemployment rate in the coastal enclave went up to 70%, forcing the Gaza youth into escaping the hard life only to find death. The illegal immigration through the shores of Italy to European countries has become the last resort for hundreds of young people escaping war and misery in Gaza. Through some traveling agencies in Gaza, these youth pay between $5,000 to $10,000 to cover their dangerous trip from Gaza to Italy. Firstly, they cross to Egypt using the smuggling tunnels that are left between the enclave and Egyptian Sinai. Then, using cars, they spend more than 6 hours traveling to the city of Alexandria, northern Egypt, where they are being delivered to Egyptian fishermen and sailors to start their 10-day sailing trip in the Mediterranean. In one case reported a week ago, one of the crowded boats drowned, leaving dozens of Palestinians swimming close to the shores of Malta until a shipping steamboat rescued them and delivered them to Malta's police. These young people are currently arrested and sent to jail. The frustration is pushing the youth of Gaza into choosing the route of illegal immigration. Many think that the day they land on Europe, they will be offered work or a place to stay. However, on the ground, those illegal Palestinian immigrants are left homeless in the streets, if not arrested and sent to prison.
Although promises of a better future in Gaza with an immediate reconstruction are being made, the youth here choose to experiment a new life away from their homeland and their suffering. Noor Harazin, Telesu TV, Gaza.
And thanks to Noor for that eye-opening report. British Prime Minister David Cameron traveled to Edinburgh today to beg Scotland to not tear apart the United Kingdom's family of nations, as he called it. Polls released Tuesday revealed a surge in support for an independent Scotland. Cameron's visit comes only 8 days before the scheduled referendum.
I care hugely about this extraordinary country, this United Kingdom that we've built together. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I would be heartbroken if this family of nations that we've put together and that we've done such amazing things together, if this family of nations was torn apart.
Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper announced Wednesday that a team of archaeologists has found one of two exploratory ships that disappeared 160 years ago. Wreckage from the ship was found in the Victoria Strait near King William Island off Canada's west coast. Canada began searching for the debris of the vessels in 2008 in a bid to assert its sovereignty over the Northwest Passage. The two ships, along with their captains and 129 men, were last seen sailing north of Canada in July of 1845. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. We'll see you right back here in the morning.